competition between gold and silver on the one hand and Federal Reserve currency, wasting asset currency, as I call it,
right.
On the other hand. And my guess is that the average person, even though he may not understand central banking, even though he may not understand the history of our Constitution in any detail, he understands his own economic interest from day to day.
Right.
And if he's given the choice with the appropriate facility so it isn't too cumbersome and expensive, and if he's given the choice between a sound currency and this other thing over here, which is wasting away like a rotting cabbage, it's pretty clear to me that he's going to walk away from the rotting cabbage currency.
Sure.
And he's going to adopt the sound currency. And once that happens in one state or in two states, it will simply spread across the country.
Yeah, I mean,
because
in theory,
the advantages will be there.
Right. In theory, what you're going to see as soon as this will be implemented is you're going to see the exchange rate of the Federal Reserve notes to these gold and silver-backed currencies continuing to fluctuate, and the Federal Reserve notes continuing to lose value compared to the other currencies.
That's right. And so you have you have, in a sense, the self-fulfilling prophecy that once you set up this system, it's like that roller coaster. Once you get that first car over the hump, everything is downhill thereafter. Gravity takes over. And I think the same thing is true here. Once one state sets up one of these systems, so gets that car over the hump ideologically or politically, in the sense that now people can see, yes, this can be done. Yes, this is how we should do it. Then the economic effects, like gravity, are going to pull those cars forward.
Now
the economic effect is tremendous power out there.
Absolutely. Now you have teamed up with Walter Reddy and others in a group called Committees of Safety to do exactly this. Give us a little background on Committees of Safety. What is a Committee of Safety? Where did this organization come from, and tell us how you're attempting to get the states to make these kind of moves? Well,
a Committee of Safety is simply a group of private citizens that organizes itself within a state, locality, county, town, whatever, for the purpose of meeting with others and educating them about this process, number one. Number two, bringing in state legislators, either ones who are already incumbents or people who want to run for office, educating them about the process, getting them committed to legislation that would perform this function, and then somewhere down the line, getting the appropriate legislation drafted specifically for that state, get it introduced, and then with a grassroots support network, forcing the thing through. I mean, let's be blunt about it, forcing the thing through because of tremendous popular pressure. What Committees of Safety is doing that's slightly beyond what I just said is it's also working on the revitalization of the state constitutional militias. And I'm not talking about people running around the woods with guns. I'm talking about the constitutional militia structure.
Right. That definition of militia is something created by the media, the mainstream media, in the 90s.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This word militia is well recognized through legal process and in the Constitution itself.
Oh, of course. In fact, there's more in the Constitution talks about the militia than there is that talks about the monetary system. So,
right.
You can see what the founding fathers thought might have been, more vital. But in any event, the idea here is, with the alternative gold currency bill that was originally drafted, that works solely on state finances, in the sense that it's only directed towards getting the state to begin to take this new alternative currency in through taxes and then to spend it by paying off various state creditors. That still leaves the private economy essentially by itself to do one thing or another. But if you put the state militia into this equation, you can make it a requirement of those members of the militia who are in business within the state, who are dealing with consumers in the state, to establish an alternative price in the new currency for all of their goods and services. And this is a pretty simple thing to do if you use the electronic gold, electronic silver system, because all of that is done online. It can be run with debit cards. These people in business primarily are all wired to perform this function. They just have to tie in to the state alternative currency system. And once you had that done, now all of a sudden not only is the state actually dealing with the alternative currency system, but every, let's say, major business in the state and the private economy is set up to deal with it. Now, we can't force people initially. I guess we could. I guess you could pass statutes that told them they had to. I don't particularly like that idea. Let competition do it at its own pace.
Right, right.
But you've set up the mechanism whereby that consumer now, when he goes into the local store, he has the option, because the store now has the debit card system set up. It's all tied into the state alternative currency system. Every individual can get an account in this thing for nothing, right? At least setting up the account. So you've now created the institutions to enable the average person to use the alternative currency without a great deal of cumbersome manipulation, which is our problem today. I mean, people can't use an alternative currency very economically. It just costs too much for them to do it. But if this thing is set up through the state government adopting the alternative currency, the militia structure being revitalized, and initially all of the businessmen, and because everyone's a member of the militia, you can direct this as part of your militia function, all of the businessmen required to provide the alternative prices for their goods and services. Now you've given the average person in the marketplace the ability to use this system at the lowest possible cost. And that essentially is greasing the skids.
Exactly.
That's greasing the rails on the roller coaster.
Right, exactly. Just as we discussed, just by the simple fact that there is an alternative currency available, people are going to have to start asking some questions. Gee, which would I prefer to use? And now we let the natural market forces take effect. That's
right. And the natural market forces now are telling us that the present Ponzi scheme of the Federal Reserve, all paper monies all over the world, but especially the Federal Reserve, these things are getting ready to come apart. That's what the market is saying. And if you listen very carefully, the market is warning us. It's telling us, you better have an alternative. Because when these things come apart, you're going to have economic chaos. You better have an alternative. All right, here's the alternative. And once the alternative is provided in a workable fashion, the average person, as he sees this collapse on the other side, is going to walk away from the Federal Reserve System. He's going to run away from the Federal Reserve System.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree with you more, Edwin. I think that one state is all it's going to take for people on a national and even a global basis to start saying, hey, what the heck is going on here? One state. And that can be done with a little bit of organization by this movement. And committees of safety is doing that, working on exactly that. There's a lot of progress being made, a lot of momentum being built towards that end. We recommend to everybody, do you want to learn more about this project and get involved and see what you can do to help it make it happen in just one state to start with? Committeesofsafety.org is the place for them to go, correct?
That's right. That's right. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's that first step. A journey, what's the Chinese saying? A journey of 1,000 li begins with a single step. This one step, one state, and then the forces of the market will drive the system.
That's right. And, of course, when we see that progress happening, we'll have some voices of reason up in the federal government and our Congress, Ron Paul and others. Peter Schiff, we'd love to send him as well to help start pointing out as we make these moves and as we have some success. Peter Schiff can be there in the Senate on the national level saying, look, here's how it needs to proceed. Let's get the federal government thinking correctly, too, about this. And all these projects can come together in a really nice way.
Oh, yeah, exactly what you say. If this works on the state level, there will be tremendous pressure. First, there will be an example of how it can be done, but there will be tremendous political pressure from the grassroots up to see it done at the congressional level. And then if you have the right people, the Ron Pauls, the Peter Schiffs, and maybe others, they're